That's crazy. I had the mic off. I was just watching the news though, man. Well, I wasn't watching the news. I was actually watching the Jerry Springer. He a judge now, and and this is the judicial system that we are currently having so much conversation, debate, and activity over. The same judicial system that after we watched Jerry Springer do, what he did on television for the couple of decades, I suppose. Now, in some form or fashion, they want millions of Americans to believe that Jerry Springer has the right to somehow execute American law. He can make legal decisions in a courtroom setting. Although it's television, and as soon as you want to say, oh, that's just TV, well, they market those type of shows as actual litigations that citizens have. So, but that's the judicial system. While we can't seem to get a fair shake in it for nothing, Jerry Springer can go from being the host of the Trailer Trash Trophy parade for 2 decades and then just jump right in to Judge Judy Lane. But while I was watching that, they had a news break. You know how they break in the middle of the program? They broke through in the middle of the show. They got breaking news, and it's the L.A. County, Beverly Hills in particular, I believe, police department. They want to do a press conference. And of course, they got they token brown skin officer that represented, I believe, the captain, sergeant. He was kind of ranking. I turned it off. And I'm just listening. First, it was a white individual, a white man. He was speaking first. And what he was saying was irritating me. But he did better than the brown-skinned man, the African-American man, just so he clear, that came after him and the woman. But I noticed how each of the three attempted to get up and speak, first of all, and acknowledge how terrible it is that George Floyd passed and how they stand with the community and peaceful protests. And then, as they made that their introduction, each of them made their segue into a threat against the the protesters that show violence. The prosecutors that show violence, they let them know that would not be tolerated. And then they all started giving testimonials on behalf of different business owners in the Santa Monica community, Beverly Hills community, who were just looking to reopen amidst all the COVID restrictions. And I want to let you know, as they each gave their little spiel, their passion increased versus decreased as they started off with the subject of how terrible it was for George Floyd to lose his life. Their passion intensified as they got through with that subject as quick as the blacks died in the movie. And then went on to talk about what was more pertinent at hand, the reason why we on lockdown. It was supposed to be 6 and they just locked the city down at 1 in the afternoon. They went on to talk about that and the reasons behind that, which were financial, material, property, and it affected their loved ones. And they were saying as much as they support justice, as much as they support the peaceful protests, they will not tolerate, and they are ready to meet that anything that's not peaceful with exaction. And I find it striking that when they talk about peaceful and violence, they're talking about toward property, material, commerce. And they keep saying we hear the voice. The black dude had the nerve to say we wide open if you want to come sit down. They act like they paying attention and they really not hearing and understanding what is being said. Don't nobody want to sit down. We beyond sitting down. Then the black dude tried to be so poetic, sound like T.I. Talking about I have a message from myself and the whole department. Somebody told me the other day, you guys are just not listening to us. He said, I told him. He tried to be so somber and eloquent. He said, I told him I can't hear because of all the noise. And then he went on to repeat that phrase a couple times, or at least once more, before he concluded his speech. But they don't get it. They're saying finally the tolerance level is reached when they seen enough of their property destroyed, not realizing that they quickly say, oh, real terrible what happened to George Floyd. None of them say, we guarantee you, based on what we saw on the camera, all the police around the whole country should be all raising their voice, every last one of them saying, we believe he should be put away forever. He does not represent us. We see what it has caused across the whole world for us to be misrepresented in that fashion. It's not about George Floyd alone. This for Trayvon Martin. None of them said, you know what? I think we need to open up a cold case, let the feds open it up. You know, when we rioted behind Rodney King, they had already went to trial. The officers got found guilty. Double jeopardy is in regards to the state. They couldn't try them again. But when we stomped our feet and made the noise, then here came the feds. The feds took them to trial and won. So I think charges should be brought back up on George Zimmerman. I think it's another slap in the face to say we hear what you're saying, and then all of a sudden your indignation is fed up when you've seen too much property damage. You don't even talk about the accumulation of bloodshed over the years. That you don't understand. From my observation, it appears the world is telling you, if you're not listening, not paying attention, there is not amount of finance, material objects that is valuable enough to exchange for all the black blood shed throughout the years. It has reached its totality, and they're showing you we're willing. You're threatening us. Even the president, all the power that he throwing around the world, being the big bully, do what he want to. Everybody see it. These ain't soldiers, tactical soldiers. After he said loot and shoot, they still putting themselves out there, not being aggressive to no life, no humans, maybe for small little incidences, but that is not the scope. The scope, you're telling me the most valuable thing that you finally can't see tolerated being destroyed in this whole scenario is property, commerce, business. All this energy you see is in response to Emmett Till's blood. There's not enough property on the face of the earth to suffice. Your president felt comfortable asking for some young men in a country where innocent to proven guilty is gospel. He felt comfortable asking for them to be lynched before they even went to trial. Then years later, after they were wrongly accused, wrongly convicted, abused in prison, finally exonerated by the same law that he condemned them by, when he questioned about it, he doubled down on the fact that he don't change the fact that they should be lynched. That blow my mind. And somehow, with that kind of president, the people, not just us, are still putting themselves on the line sacrificially, saying, all right, so what? And your best approach to your citizens is to say, all right, that's enough. Basically, it's going to get nasty. Your speech, your message is not, we hear you, and we agree. It took too long for the officer to be arrested. his co-conspirators, crimies, they should be arrested as well. Now that it's found out he died from asphyxiation, the charges should be adjusted to first-degree premeditated murder for the amount of time that he begged for his life to be preserved. And we watched. This is what all the police should be saying around the world. Who are you going to hold accountable for the whole world reaction? Now, the government is actually bigger than the actual human. This is humanity crying out. And all of a sudden, now our actions as humanity has to make sense when we're responding to centuries of senseless activity toward us. Now, all of a sudden, all this sense is required. Just recently, we gave you a high-profile opportunity to respond to a silent protest. Captain Kaepernick took the knee quite silently. Your president downgraded him, ignored him. They ostracized him. Now it's too loud. Not bloodshed. We ain't even went after no blood in return for all the blood of our ancestors. The same blood that soaks that grass that T.I. and Killer Mike is calling Wakanda. The same one amongst our people, for sure, has the same epidemic as C. Nodam and Giminor. And from what we learned, the reason why they had to flee, Lot and his wife and his family, flames was coming. I find it a real cold parallel. Here it is. It appears that the flames is coming. It's time to go. And they so in love, so attached to see Nodam and Giminor, Sodom and Gomorrah. They don't want to leave. That is the mecca for that type of activity amongst our culture. That's why they standing up in front of that press conference looking like they ain't got no soul. That is the spirit of our ancestors stirring them up from under the grave right there in Atlanta. Everything built in Atlanta is built on top of soil that is drenched with the blood of our ancestors. And you standing up there on top of them with that blasphemous buffoonery. And that's why you can't even get your spirit together. You looking up there like a zombie, lifeless. I don't want to be up here. This Wakanda. Because our ancestors are sitting there stumping their feet, shaking your soul. Whatever you establish, whatever you done built up there, burn the ship. Sometimes it's time to let it go. Whatever skills that you possess that taught you to be able to multiply right there, perhaps you're supposed to take them skills elsewhere. And let's rebuild elsewhere because it ain't going on everywhere else like y'all say is going on over there. Oh, my mama. You sound just like these police chiefs. Now, all of a sudden, when it comes to some material things, this battle, we not fighting this battle for us in our window of basically 100 years total type life we allow. You know how long this struggle started before us and how long it's going to last perhaps after us before the promised land is in the vision? And you trying so hard to hold on to your little portion of Wakanda? You sound like the police people up in Beverly Hills. And then Killer Mike get right up there and say, oh, I'm a family police. Commerce. And y'all wonder where the phrase soul for sale comes to life actually. So many parallels with Sodom and Gomorrah. You ain't supposed to look back. You're supposed to be able to let it go and don't look back. You don't know why. Where you at may need to burn more than anything else. Once you burn that up and it's gone, all you geniuses that know how to put two and two together and get communities together amongst our people, go disperse elsewhere and start it somewhere else. Burn the ships. When you burn the ships, there's nothing to return to. We got to go somewhere else and conquer. Y'all got it too cushy, too sweet. Out here, the houses y'all got for $200,000 cost 4.5. So you get on camera looking like y'all El Chapo or something. With all the juries and all that. I know the business. Y'all loving it. But for the cause, it might be time for all that to go. All this is America, not just the states that are not Atlanta, Wakanda. Y'all burnt on my mama. I couldn't help it. I had to come on here and say this to my peoples, to the people who come to my platform to break bread and listen with me that agree. I'm not chasing nobody platform, nobody page, bombarding them with my thoughts. Every human being has their own personal platform where they should be allowed and expected to express their thoughts. I'm not here to debate nobody. Remember, all y'all clowning, ain't nobody paying attention. It's only me and my little 10 followers. All the rest of y'all butting y'all ears, eavesdropping into our conversation, looking, looing, and listening, commenting is queers anyway. Queerdos. Don't crucify me. My mama. Burn me up. I'm listening intently to see where their conversation is going as far as the police are concerned. And lo and behold, of course, that little introduction of trying to show reverence and condolences was real quick to let y'all know we letting y'all know we kicking ass next. That's all they really came on there to say. But ain't none of them talking about, and to the officers out there around the world, I'm pledging when I'm on duty, if I see anything of that, I'm holding you accountable. I ain't heard none of them say that, not once. They obviously are not hearing what the world is telling them. You saw the reaction of the world when Neighborhood Nip died. The spook that was sitting by the door, plotting the infiltration. You saw how the world reacted when he died. Well, guess what? Neighborhood Nip was sitting by the door, the spook by the door, on behalf of George Floyd. And now, when he died, the world, not any individual, this is humanity across the planet, reacting the same way they wanted to react when Nip died. Now they didn't have nowhere to turn their anger. Now, one of those, the earth, the world, the planet, another one of his children is gone, and now they have somewhere, they have a system to blame. And now once again, at the most pertinent time, the system is yelling out the property, the money, the commerce, the material, Beverly Hills, Atlanta, Wakanda is more important than all the bloodshed. We hear y'all. Y'all ready to slaughter us in multitudes before y'all guarantee that these individuals will be dealt with for the crime that we saw on camera to the fullest extent. Do anybody know if they upped it to first degree yet? Yeah, it ain't no city issue. Not at all. Not at all. If the leg gotta go, you can't save the foot. It's impossible. I don't care how much you like your pedicure, how fast you can run on that thing. If the poison is in the leg all the way down, the whole thing is gone. America is the leg. It ain't no good. So they got to get the whole thing right, or none of us is with it. That's what humanity is saying. My mama. All y'all goofies coming on my page in response to what I'm speaking on the subject, you telling me the message you hear from others makes more sense than that to you? You gone too. Do you know when war is cracking, when you maneuver, engage actively, people that come with that type of energy get friendly fire in the back of the neck, back of the head, and never see it coming? I got no time for that. However, anything tactical that anybody that matters sees that might not be to the best of our advantage, there is a proper way to put a bug in everybody's ear. It ain't to holler out on the platform in front of the whole world and say, hey, we need to shift up our tactical plan. It's not working. That definitely wouldn't be the process, even if you were saying the correct thing and had the correct intentions and motives, which you don't. Their motives to save Wakanda is the same, Atlanta is the same motives that I just saw these Beverly Hills officers sit up and speak about saving Beverly Hills and LA. They can't, yeah, we hear you, we feel you, we stand with you. They didn't say they're going to pledge from now on to hold everybody next to them accountable. You're not going to see that anymore. No, I've heard this phrase now. We all have heard it for years. It's common, cold case. Nobody talking about cracking open no cold cases. Nobody trying to say put Zimmerman through a federal trial now. If it'll be double jeopardy through state. Let's see what the feds got for him. Nobody talking about none of that. They still are esteeming all these material possessions and items above the value of all the blood shed that the humanity as a whole is reacting on behalf of. They still don't get it. But they letting you know they ready to do real damage now to protect what really matters. And it's not you, it's not me, there is nobody. The only reason there hasn't been an onslaught of reactions is because if you look at the demographic of the people out there overreacting, reacting however they want to deem it, it's their babies, their cousins, their sons, their aunties, their nieces too. Otherwise, they would have been overreacted. On my mama. But to show you, when it's war, they understand what I'm telling you is supposed to be. They letting you know. If the foot ain't no good, they nephews, they nieces, they whoever out there is finna switch up now. That's what they letting you know. Oh, my mama. How come Farrakhan ain't spoke out? Because Farrakhan has spent 50, 60, 70 years speaking. He probably somewhere praying. You always want somebody to speak out and say what? He been telling America for all his whole life. Oh, my mama. That was a question that didn't make no sense. If you want to hear what Farrakhan gotta go say on the subject, go put any of these keywords you think that relate to this subject in a Google search on YouTube or something of that nature, and Farrakhan been speaking. That's why he ain't speaking out. Coming here trying to ask them questions that's holding others accountable for contributing. That is not no time for this. It's only time if you're not out there actively contributing yourself, you observe and support, nothing else. I'm not trying to pick nobody plays apart and tell them what exactly they should and should not be doing. When all we doing is sitting here holding on to our families, loving on them, hoping and praying and observing everything turns out for the best. And you got people out here putting their life on the line for the cause of all. So what if it's sloppy? So what if it's some extras taking advantage of it? All this is a result of these officers that feel like they can take advantage of black life whenever they get ready. Oh, my mama. That's the trigger. There's only one trigger. The damage is all a result of one trigger pull. And they pull the trigger over and over again when they kill us on camera. And every time you get a little anxiety, hoping and you look, and when it pop out, no charges filed. That's the trigger. So yeah, if all the extras, the sillies, the people who don't care getting involved and doing extra damage is too much, you need to go all the way to the source. When they try to get rid of a cancer, they don't find the tumor and just eliminate the tumor. They go all the way. They want to eliminate the source. The source is the trigger. Let's talk about getting rid of that source. Why are you so vague about your approach toward the source? Oh, my mama. I ain't no expert on nothing. I don't got all the statistics these dudes got. I don't know all the history they got. I know enough to know what we've been through, where we are, what we're facing, and what it's going to take. Look, bro, you see what type of result. You got them worried. They crying. They begging. They trying to meet. They asking to sit down. Even though we don't want to sit down, this is where they are. Not because you kneeled. Not because you voted, not because you did Crime Stopper commercials, not because of none of that. You see what it took. They teach us Thanksgiving, pilgrims, and all that. And now you grown. Just think about what really happened. We are not protesting against racial profiling. We are not protesting against ill-colored jokes told by the Seinfeld dude. We are not protesting even against the N-word. We are protesting against lives that have been knocked down for centuries that there has been no retribution given for. Each one of them deserve the amount of attention that we are contributing to George Floyd. So it's not just for George Floyd. Once you think we've getting it all out for George Floyd, then the humanity, the world is getting it all out again for the next person. And all down the list. It's not just for him. That's just what y'all call it. That's just the straw that broke the camel back. Oh, my mama. Everybody want to be rational and talk about what's too much. Oh, yes, we're with the peaceful protests. But what we see now, that is just intolerable. How about what is just intolerable and should have been intolerable for all this time is your colleagues killing us and having no accountability. Let's talk about how intolerable that is. And I ain't talking to nobody but my little couple people that I know agree with me. Like, if you got the energy to come right here to what I'm saying and then type and start telling me all the ways you disagree with me, you need to be posted up at every religious establishment that you don't agree with their doctrine and taking turns, going knock on their doors. Matter of fact, don't even knock on their door. Just pop up in the middle of their service and let them know where you disagree with them too. Any political establishment where people are gathering, speaking their political views that you don't agree with them, make it your business to go pop up and start arguing with them. Goofies. Like, I give a if you agree or disagree with me. I'm only speaking to the people that agree with me. I know everybody don't agree. Go talk to, listen to, deal with the people you agree with. Oh, my mama. This is my plea not finor. Oh, my mama. I just had to get that off, y'all. And I ain't gonna hold y'all no longer than this, but just in the spirit of everything that everything we just spoke on, I'm gonna leave y'all with this. I love y'all, my mama. Be about your melanin at this moment, at all costs.
According
Snakewood Nip Hustle. Big shout out to my nigga SPI, Spotter Low. You know I'm in the black box, had to come through, tap in, show love one time. Yeah, y'all make sure y'all subscribe. Stay tuned, all that.